Has there ever been something that you've wanted to go for, and I mean really wanted to go for, and you've set off doing it with the best of intentions, and somewhere along the way you've lost motivation, and then you've just walked away from it and abandoned it? Ever done that? There's probably a reason what's happened, and in this video I'm going to explain what I think that reason might be and how to get past it so you succeed. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Write Your Own Story. My name is James Taylor. I'm a professional counsellor, hypnotherapist, life coach. I'm also an author, a podcaster and a YouTuber. So let's get straight into this. This thing that you've wanted to do and you've really wanted to do it and you've walked away from it. Why do you think that was? I'm guessing that maybe you wasn't seeing as much progress as you thought. And that lack of progress that you expected to see started to demotivate you. And eventually you turned your back on it. Have I got that right? So I'm going to talk about a thing called a 1% rule. Now, normally people, they start the new year, new me, and all that rubbish. Well, that just doesn't work. You know this yourself. You might have done it yourself. It doesn't work unless you have a very strong will. And that can be a problem because most people haven't got a strong will. So they try and get motivation to get them through it instead. And then they lose motivation. And then this thing they really wanted, oh, what's the point? Forget it. And that might be fitness, drinking, smoking, a change of lifestyle, studying, an exercise routine, whatever it might be. And they walk away from it. Now, there's a way to get past this. And I'm going to go through a few details with you. I'm going to tell you a story, which makes sense because this channel is called Write Your Own Story. But most people, if I said to you, how many percent would you like to be better? You might say 10%. You might say 50. It might even be higher than 50. I want to be 100, whatever it might be. But how would it be if we came up with a plan together where you could just be 1% better today? That's all. No big numbers. Just 1% better today. And then 1% better tomorrow. And then 1% the day after that. Would that seem more doable, do you think, than going for the big mountaintop 25, 30, 50%? Let's just do it bit by bit. I think that would make more sense. And this is something that I do in my own life as well. So I walk the walk as well as talk the talk. So let me tell you a story to explain this. A long time ago, there was a king who wasn't a very nice king. But he had a problem. There was a dragon that lived within the kingdom and it was killing people. And no one really knew how to get rid of the dragon. Now there was a young guy and he went to see the king, and the king was an avid chess player. Now when the guy walked into the castle to see the king was there playing chess with one of the other people who were there. Didn't even bother looking up at the guy. And this guy said, I can get rid of your dragon. Now the king had heard this before. Lots had tried, lots had failed, lots had died trying. So he didn't really pay much attention to this. So the guy raised his voice. I can do this. At a price, of course. So the king said, well, what will your price be? The guy said, very, very simple. I see you enjoy playing chess. If I do this and I succeed, on day one, after I've succeeded, you'll give me 1 gold coin. And on day 2, you'll give me 2 gold coins. And on day 3, you'll give me 4 gold coins. And we'll keep on going until the chessboard is full. I've used all the squares up. Well, the king thought he was on for a bargain. He thought, not only is this guy an idiot, he's going to get killed. He's an idiot and doesn't realise how cheap he's doing this for. So the terms are agreed and the task was set. Now the guy went to where the dragon lived. It was down by the coast inside a dark cave. And he had to go in there, and he was successful in killing the dragon. Went back to the king and said, I've succeeded. Brought the dragon's head as proof. The king was quite surprised at this. and said, well done, I will pay you what we agreed. Still thinking this was way too low. So each day the man would return to the castle and the king would give him his price. Day 1 was 1 gold coin. Day 2, 2 gold coins. Day 3, 4 gold coins. And the king was rubbing his hands thinking, I've got away with blue murder here. This guy's being taken for a ride and doesn't even know it. That soon began to change, because each day the king had to pay double what he'd originally paid. And it got to such a point, the king thought, if this carries on, I'm going to lose the castle. I'm going to lose all my money. This is ridiculous. Now, because this is a fairy tale, the king arranged for the man to marry his daughter. And it turns out they were happily in love anyway, and all was well. But this is how this works. There's a thing called compound interest, and that's what this story is about. So when you're doing the 1% better a day, it works like this. If you become 1% better on one day, well, the next day you're not starting from scratch again. The next day you're turning up 1% better. Okay? So you do the second day and you get your 1%, and now you've accrued that. The next day you turn up. Now you're an enhanced version of you again. You get your 1% and you keep on going. Now, if you do this for over the course of a year, you'll become 37 times more than you presently are. Now, you might be thinking, well, how does that work out exactly? Do the maths on this. You turn up and accrue your 1% each day. You become 37, just over 37 times more within the space of a year. Now, what would the version of you be able to do if you were 37 times more than you presently are? Would you be able to go for those goals with a bit more resilience? Not necessarily need the motivation, but just know you could do it. Would you succeed in certain areas? Would you set yourself new goals that at the moment you think are beyond you? What do you think? So I want to talk about there's different ways of accruing the 1%. You talk about the 1%. What does that mean, 1%? Well, here's a few ways to get better and accrue your 1%. One way is to get an accountability buddy. An accountability buddy can really make the difference. And if you want to, you can add some skin in the game. If I ever don't turn up, I owe you £100. Or maybe it's just a verbal promise is all that's needed. I'm going to be there for you, and you're going to be there for me, and we're not going to let each other down. And then you can do the activity together. I did this when I was training for a half marathon many years ago, and I had a neighbour who lived around the corner who was also going to be in the half marathon. We became accountability buddies, and I'll be honest, there were some times I didn't feel like going out to train, but I couldn't let him down. I always turned up, and because of that, we did the half marathon together. So accountability buddies, fantastic. Another good way of getting the 1% is to plan the night before what you're going to do tomorrow. Now, I've been doing this for years. And in fact, I do it religiously, and I notice if I don't plan the night before, even now, I'm not as productive the next day. So what I have, I used to do it on a journal, but now I just do it on a whiteboard, and I will write down the tasks I need to do tomorrow, the night before, and I'll do them, and I'll tick them off as I go. But I'll put them in some order of priority as well. So here's a little throwaway tip for you. If there's tasks that you need to do, put a letter A through to E next to the task. The A stands for this must be done. The B stands for this should be done. The C stands for it would be nice to be done. The D stands for delegate to someone else. And the E stands for eliminate. Okay, so if you have 5 tasks, order them that way. Now there might be 2 tasks that maybe these 2 tasks must be done. Well, that's okay. Just call one of them A1 and call the other one A2 and tick it off as you go along. Okay, so plan the night before what you're going to do tomorrow. It's a fantastic tip. Another good way to get you 1% is to track your results. So let's say it was a fitness thing and you were running a certain distance and you were timing it. So you were going out for a 20-minute run and you had an app on your phone, whatever it might be, and you track your distance. When you get home, write it up. I'm a big fan of pen and paper with this kind of stuff. Write it up. And then the next day, do the same again. At some point, that 20-minute run, you're going to be able to go a little bit further. So track it. I think I've been doing for a while now. I got myself a nice book. It was a gift. It looks like this. And what I do each day, I've been filling out in different colours. I have the date, and I fill out in one colour what is my recharge activity, and I fill in another colour what is my work activity. So I have a list going on with my whiteboard. I've got lists everywhere, but I stick to them and it keeps me on track. So I have a whiteboard list to the activities for tomorrow, and I've got this I write up throughout the day. And this is why lists are important. You ever go in the supermarket to buy a pint of milk and some bread and you haven't got a shopping list, and you come out with a trolley full of stuff? You ever done that? I've done that so many times. But it's because you haven't got a list. Now, what happens when you do have a list and you go to the supermarket? Do you tend to stick to the list? There's maybe one or two things, maybe some Scooby snacks that find their way in your trolley. But generally, do you stick to the list? This is why lists are important. So that's another way to get you 1%. Another way to get you 1% is to link an old habit with the new habits that you want to create. Okay? So let's say you want to get on top of your ironing. Well, you might just stand in the living room and do your ironing, and it's boring. Unless you like ironing, I'm not a fan of it, but I do it. It can be quite boring. Well, what about if you do another habit while you're doing the ironing? So could this be you maybe listen to an audiobook? Could you stick a film on? Could you watch something on the television that informs you of something while you're doing the ironing? And when you link a new habit with an old habit and tie them together, it creates like this little subroutine in your head. So your brain starts to realise, okay, when I'm doing the ironing, I'm now learning. And what you'll find is your mind will be taken away from the ironing and you'll be learning things at an unconscious level. And that builds the habit. That makes this little pathway in your mind, it makes it wider and stronger, this neural pathway. So you're tying one thing to another thing. So that's another one. Another tip you can do is have a look around your home and see if the activity that you want to do, what things do you do around the home? What's your routine? So do you sit on the couch to watch the television? Or do you sit on the couch to read a book? Because if you want to read a book, for instance, you want to read so many pages a day, but neurologically you're linking the couch to the television to unwind, to binge watch something, then what I would say is that isn't the place to be doing that. So it might be you set up a chair over there, and that's where I go and sit, and that's where I go and read. And when I watch the television, I go over to the sofa and I do that there. Now, by creating these separate zones, then the habit starts to form. Like, for instance, I guess you don't go into the bathroom unless you want to use the bathroom. You want to brush your teeth, wash your hands, or maybe get a bath or a shower. That's what you generally use the bathroom for. You probably don't go in there to sleep. If you do, maybe get in touch. But generally you go in there to do one of those activities, and that's all you think about when you're in the bathroom. I'm going in there because I'm going to get a shower. And likewise, you wouldn't go into the kitchen to get a wash, to get a shower, unless maybe there's some difficulties there as well. You go into the kitchen to either clean up, prepare food, wash up, and whatever it might be. You've got an activity linked to a certain room in the house. So to help you create a habit, you can create a space, if it's an activity at home, that's just there. Let's say it's an activity outside the home. Let's say you want to go for a run and you really want to get into your fitness. Easy to do. Get your trainers, stick them by the front door. Get your water bottle, have that by the front door, ready to be filled up at the kitchen. Have your car keys next to your trainers. And then when you get up, all that stuff that might make you think, oh, I'll just put off doing that, it's there waiting for you. All right? If you're going to start eating healthy, then have the pan that you're going to use on the stove ready to go. Make it easy for yourself. Another tip, make it enjoyable. This is what this is all about. So on the screen of your mind, get really clear. Get really clear. Why are you doing this? What's the goal going to look like? Is it because you're going to look in the mirror and go, I'm not looking too bad? Is it going to be holding a diploma in your hand, thinking I made it? Is it going to be starting work at a new location? Is it, if it's learning a musical instrument, are you going to be holding a guitar and playing that tune that you've always wanted to learn? Why are you doing this? And each step of the way gets you there. So go for the 1%. This honestly, this works like a charm. And the reason that I think you might have not succeeded in the past is this 1%. You weren't looking at it in this way. And over time, it starts to grow and grow and grow. So it's a bit like a mountain that starts off quite flat, and the climb is gradual. But when it takes off, it really takes off. Just like the guy who tricked the king by having those gold coins after he killed the dragon. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have and you think I've earned it, please give it a like, a share and a subscribe. Honestly, I know you hear that a lot, but it really does help the channel out, because it tells YouTube this is worth showing to other people. And if you want to put down what your goals are and what your 1% are going to be, put them in the comments as well. If I can help in any way, there's a link in the description to get in touch with me if you want to work one-to-one. But I know you can do this. 1%, you can do 1%. I hope it helps, and I'll see you on the next episode. So this is James from Write Your Own Story. Bye-bye.